You know what I'm saying?
Stop yourself.
I like the specific people, but I want to hit them with positivity. Yeah. All right, let's do this. So, Phil Bresson is a filmmaker, director, producer, creative, and a force in the Kenyan film industry. Been doing it for so long, and been relevant, every other year with projects that we've done. Yes. So 2007, we started this little company called Insignia, and did in 2008 a show called Changing Times, which ended up blowing up. Was one of the first Kenyan TV series, TV dramas that created actors who ended up becoming superstars. Back then, musicians were hot in the streets. So, when we started going for back then there was Chagula Teenage, this is how old we are. When we went for those tours and then we walk into the rooms, people like Brenda Wairimo and Joy Kendi and Joey Muthengi, Nice Githinji, Ian Mugoya, these guys would step in and the kids would lose it. And I remember just sitting and just looking at this and I'm like, wow, we've done something really special. So that was the first show that really changed the game for us and for a lot of people. Also, there's a way Kenyan shows look. Some specific Kenyan shows look. We tried to go the different route. And that's also visible in Single Kiasi. So memorable mentions would be Changing Times, Comedy Club, which I really loved, My Two Wives, Pieces of Us, Junior, which ran for a long time. A lot of kids grew up on that. There's been a lot. My life is very planned, right? I know exactly what I wanted to do when I was 16. I knew that I definitely wanted to create content and work in advertising. So ads have always been a thing that I really loved. And growing up, we had some really cool ads too that that are quite memorable. There's one ad about, I think this is Durex ad with the umbrella and thing. I don't know if you know the ad I'm talking about. Corny as hell, but really cool. Then there was so there's this ad that used to play after wrestling, and this is KBC, and I used to watch KBC. And after wrestling, there'd be the guy coughing. I think it was for, what was it? Some lozenges or something. Yeah, that's another memorable ad that I remember. But then later there was Nikona Safaricom, and you could see the technology develop and the creatives write really cool shit. So that's a background that I've grown up on for sure. Yeah. There's a specific ad I was talking to Grace yesterday about, and I will not mention the company, but it was a terrible ad. And this is something that we've learned now in a much later. There's something we've learned now. The thing is, don't accept any job. Some jobs are not worth. This ad the script was terrible. The script was horrible. So then we ended up shooting it. We looked at it, we're like, really bad. I can't mention the company, but it was really terrible. Oh my God. But that was a while back. So right now, what we do is when we get a brief and the ad is not looking like it's cool, we are at a place where we can flex our creative muscles and talk to client and tell client, listen, even agency, we don't feel like this will work. So how about we treat it differently and just try and make it something really amazing. There's been incidences where we got scripts that are like maybe 2 minutes long. Already, that's a problem. So from my experience, I go back and I say, guys, this won't work. If you work hard enough, you get to a point where people listen to you. So if I walk into a room and I'm talking to a client, because of the body of work that we've done as Insignia, a client would listen to us. They'll be like, okay, that makes sense. Directing back then was not as it is now. And I remember being in New York maybe 5 years ago, and we're working on a little project with Grace in New York and with a team of guys. And when we walked into the room and we introduced ourselves and we said we were directors, you being a director is treated very differently in the States. That was the first time I felt like a rock star. I was like, oh shit, okay, this is kind of cool. I like this. The respect, the way people address you, the way they talk to you, the way they respect your creative input, very different. If you hear some of the stories of, established directors in the States and what they do, you'll be like blown off because, the whole production is at the mercy of the director. And some of them do some outlandish shit. Here, you can't do that. But then much later, it's changed. So now it's a bit, I think the clientele that we have, the agencies that we have, they now listen to creatives more, they listen to directors more, and they're able to switch things around. They'll be like, you're doing a pitch, but then they're asking you what you think, because they know what the input that you bring is very important. And I like that. I like that there's been like a shift in the industry. People know. What I'd say is, if you're a production manager, if you're hiring a production company to create content for you, you need to hire a team with, a director who has it. That's what makes your project different. So if you hire a director who's switched on, your project is going to be switched on because he has great taste, right? Has the eye. But then if you hire a director who doesn't have it, then, it's just not going to be any cool shit to it. And that I think is like changing now. People are starting to realize the importance of having a switched on director, or a director with a good eye, or a director who is... For TV shows, we've been like doing internal concepts, but then we work with a team of writers. Then we develop the TV show. There's producers who come and hire us to do a TV show for them. Funny story is, we were the production company that was supposed to do Crime and Justice. The producer of Crime and Justice was supposed to come and actually, he met us and wanted to hire us to do Crime and Justice. Then that didn't happen for whatever reason. But if the project is interesting and we feel like, we could contribute to it, we jump onto it and we give it our best. But the thing that sets us apart from everybody else is we dive in, we give it our everything. Here's my prediction of the next 7-8 years. I think the next set of global filmmakers, keywords global filmmakers, will come from outside the bigger markets. Bigger markets being Hollywood, the States, Europe. Because I remember, again, my second time in the States, I'm there with my business partner, Grace Kahaki. We're just, walking down, I think we're walking down Brooklyn or something. And then this car goes past us and they're blasting Afrobeats, right? So Afrobeats has been hot for like maybe 3 years in Africa. But then we're in the States and we're hearing this for the first time. We're like, oh. And then we go to a restaurant and we hear Afrobeats. So we have a conversation where like, this is really strange because we grew up in an era where Eminem, Busta Rhymes, that's the era we grew up in. I never thought I'd see Burna Boy and Davido in a music video with, an American artist. So the thing is, for me, my prediction for the next 7-8 years is it's going to happen. The same thing is going to happen to film. And instead of us going to the States to try and hustle and then throw away our passport and then become aliens and then overcome that and then try source for funding, and we can be successful in Africa, use our resources in Africa to build content that will, go out there and, so we can be in Africa, use our resources, create global content, and blow up from right here. Because that's exactly what the Nigerians did. And that's exactly what's going to happen to filmmakers. This whole thing of, going and through your passport and and you start hustling from, it'll take a toll. Too much time will pass. You can walk into the States as a boss. You can go and hire them to do shit for you. And that's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to a level where we are successful enough to do such kind of things. So I have a weird relationship with awards, the Kenyan Awards. I don't think Kenyan Awards, not mentioning names, but I don't think Kenyan Awards give credit or give awards to the deserving people. And that's why for me, sometimes when, we're at the office and guys are like, let's enter your name for best director, whatever. I take a backseat on that, because I feel like some award ceremonies, it's who's sponsoring the award ceremony, and then that's where most of the awards are going to go. And then you also have to remember, we started this journey 2008, right? So there's been a few guys who've been trendsetters. I feel like these guys should be awarded. Give the awards to the very best. Let it not be a thing of like, we have to make sure that we distribute the awards equally. Let it be like the Grammys. If an artist is good, they can win 7-8 Grammys in one night because your performance. Because the thing is, like, if you come to the set of Single Kiasi, the actors that I work with, they really, we have conversations and they're like, what, we really need to push, we need to make the season better. I want my performance to be much, much better. I remember having that conversation with Mine, and I remember having that conversation with Minor, who plays Richie. And they were like, no, season 3, I want to dominate the fuck out of this shit. So with that in mind, every time we're doing scenes with them, they're pushing the envelope. And you guys have no idea what it means to do that. It's long hours of shooting, and these guys go all the way out. You're 6 takes, 7 takes in to make sure that you get the very best performance. Sometimes one scene will take 4 hours to shoot. So imagine trying to keep character for 4 hours. And then we send your tape to an award ceremony and they don't give you an award. And me as a director and a producer with many years in the industry, I can easily, look at a category and I'm like, okay, this person is deserving of this award, whether or not they've worked in my production. So then they don't end up getting it. And you're like, so what's the point? Insignia in 2008, I'll tell you an interesting story. There was a show called Changes, big budget show. I hated the fuck out of Changes because they had a marketing budget and we as Changing Times didn't have a marketing budget. But let me tell you, fast forward to now, the key personalities in the industry are guys who came from Changing Times. So what the fuck are you telling me about talented and people who are really talented? Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah, when we're doing Changing Times, yes, we did win an award or two, but some of the guys who were there, super influential right now. Brenda Wairimu is still doing it. I don't remember anyone on Changes who's doing it. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm just saying. Cartoon Network. This was the official Rise of Insignia. We had been knocking on different doors trying to really get out and telling guys, we do dope shit, we are the shit. And what ends up happening is guys were not giving us the opportunity. So our strategy was, let's try and work with a lot of other outside companies. Let's try work with outside companies and try build our portfolio, because then we were transitioning from doing TV shows to doing ads and documentaries. So we built up a really decent, catalog of stuff that we've done. And then Cartoon Network comes knocking and they have us pitch for the project. We pitch against maybe 10 other local production companies. And some of these other production companies were like the top production companies at the time. They're doing all the big budget ads and all you understand what I'm saying? So, sometimes being in the gutter for so long, what ends up happening is, because you're swimming in the muddy waters, you become really good at finessing. And so that's pretty much what happened, because we pitched and we whooped all the asses. And we got the gig and we were super excited. That was like the time we really believed in ourselves, and we were like, these guys, they just, they have nothing on us. And then we were able to really just establish ourselves and say, hey, you know what? We are a Kenyan global production company. And that was the rebirth of Insignia Productions. So what we need is government support, right? Because that's really going to elevate us to the next level. I don't think we've really had government support. And I'm saying this because I've been in the industry. I've never had any government support to get to where I have, which is very unfortunate. Government officials going to meet Tyler Perry and going to Hollywood to try and get them to come and shoot productions here, that's not really elevating the Kenyan production industry. What you need to do is figure out a way of building the local industry. There are things back then that used to make us feel Kenyan, right? And one of the ways the government can tap into that is, for example, have a festival. Have a film festival that happens, a global film festival that happens here. Even just have a festival, like the way Brazil has a street festival that happens in Brazil. So that being Kenyan is not drinking Tusker in a bar only. We know that, every year the thing that brings us together will fly back to Kenya because of this festival that has film, music, cultural stuff. And that's the way that they can try and elevate, so that there's more love for what's Kenyan than and even the haters club, this haters club that we have, their voice is going to become really small and it won't matter. So for me growing up, because I've been part of the industry, I'll tell you something interesting. There's an era we had of music in the 2000s. This is when Akina Bamboo were coming up, Akina Longombas, Akina all these guys. And we had one platform that used to play Kenyan music a lot, and this was The Beat. If you had your video on The Beat, you'd made it, you're like, I made it, because a lot of people used to watch it. So there's an acceptance for Kenyan music. All the DJs used to play Kenyan music, but then what happened is, these guys, because they had so much power, they started controlling who's going to get airtime and who's not, right? And that's what killed Kenyan music, because Kenyan music just died at some point. So the thing is, we need to figure out government support, and the government support doesn't have to be monetary necessarily, but it can be working with us and working with people to create this festivals and campaigns, love Kenya, buy Kenya, that kind of thing. That goes a long way. And also, the other thing is, we shot a series recently, and we were filming at the railway station, one of the railway stations here. And we had a very interesting, strange encounter. We couldn't finish the scene because we got into a little issue with them because, okay, you can use this space, but you can't, but we don't think you can go behind the counter because all these things. And we were like, this feels very colonial, right? If we shot this project that's a global project, it's going to be seen in different parts of the world. Why are we being treated like we're doing something? Do you know what going to a cop station is? When you go to a cop station and you're like, where's Mama Apa? Don't. Yeah. So that's how we were being treated, filming at the railway station. So imagine us trying to keep our composure and trying to keep our energy and keep our cool so that we can just complete our 4 scenes. So that's what. Yes. Our actor is like, how am I supposed to perform with all this shit happening? But that's what I mean. That's where it needs to start. That's how the government can support us. Yeah. So here's the thing. Anybody starting out now, right? You have to understand, unfortunately, and this is the thing I hate about the Kenyan markets, right? For anything to do with music and film, it's very cliquey. I hate to say this, but it's also a thing of who you know. They have to know you to accept you. You can't just come in and be good at what you do and get in. It's a longer, harder road. So if you're starting out now, the thing is, just be the very best at what you do. Invest in yourself, most importantly, and eventually you can get to them and they'll accept you. That's the only way to do it. Just break the barriers. There's no other way. Yeah, because for me, I don't believe that I have to come and hang out with you, do parties with you, do dinners with you so that I can get work from you. I just believe that, if my work is good enough, you need to see it and be like, yeah, he has a lot of potential, or he's very good at what he does, so let's work with him. The thing that's missing is, and that's why it takes us longer to get to where we need to get to, is we don't have people who sit down and spot talent and spot the next big thing. You know how in the States you have record label execs who have talked about, I missed out on Alicia Keys and I missed out on these artists. We don't have that here. They don't know who the next big thing is. They don't know. So you can have the same old washed out guy 15, 20 years, maybe that's me I'm talking about, but you can have the same washed out old guy doing the same shit, and you have all these cool young guys with great ideas, and you just never give them the opportunity. So that's our problem. We don't have guys who switch on like that. So I've recently watched A Man in Full. I love it. Regina King is the one who's directed it. I've also watched, been trying to get people to watch this series. I think it's really dope. Reasonable Doubt. They use this little Jay-Z beats from his albums to label the episodes and stuff. It's really cool. In terms of music, let me tell you, the way the hours are, I just listen to lo-fi a lot. But a little bit of Prince and Michael always just get me through. Thames. Thames has some really dope, like she's elevated herself to the next level. I like what she's doing with her music now. Yeah. It's just the TikTok songs is like, it's that catchphrase, and then when you listen to the rest of the song, it's just like, this is weird. I just like that one part, and then in the 80s, you know, this shit wouldn't have made it in the clubs, you know what I'm saying? When we used to go to the clubs, to the disco, yeah. When we were in the disco in the 80s, this shit wouldn't have cut it with your little one catchy part, you know. DJ would have to mix like 30 seconds of the song and then move to the next song. It's crazy. But yeah, like I said, like Thames is doing some cool, like she's doing some cool shit with her music. I'm definitely, I like albums. So I'm not really switched on to a lot of like the American music now. I'm more into the African music because I think we're doing a lot more interesting, vibrant, creative stuff as Africans. So that's what I'm listening to now. In Pursuit of Happiness. It's a beautiful movie, man. I feel like that's been my life for the most part. Some guys, you know, some people look at us and are like, oh, you know, you guys have made it and stuff. And even when you get to the top, you still have to fight. The fight does not stop. So I feel like I'm being that guy. You wake up, you carry your briefcase, you're trying to sell, and no one is listening to you. And you're telling them like, you know, I know what I'm doing. I'm really good at what I do. And you just keep getting no's and no's and no's. It's pretty much been the story of my life in a way. Yeah. I'd like to do some stuff for Safaricom. Yeah. Safaricom, I'd like to do some stuff for you, if you're listening. And the government of Kenya, I'd like to do some stuff for you guys as well. I'm just saying. Yeah.